After our whirlwind marriage, my wife tragically passed away. While sorting through her belongings, I discovered a photo album. It was filled with pictures of us together, from our school blazers to our wedding attire. The photos were old and yellowed, with faded writing on the back. "Such a shame, Crispin. We're going to miss each other again." But we had only known each other for 2 weeks, until I opened my eyes once more and saw her as she used to be. Ding! Story Shots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. At 29, I had a whirlwind marriage with a woman I met through a dating app just a week prior. Her name was Miriam Sterling. She had a small red birthmark at the corner of her eye. She was refined and fair-skinned. Strangely, her first words to me were, "We meet again, Mr. Linton." I asked in surprise, "Have we met before?" Miriam lowered her lashes, her smile gentle and subtle. "We'll be seeing each other often from now on." I was bewildered but laughed it off. "It seems you've taken quite a liking to me, Miss Sterling." The details of our subsequent conversation are now hazy. It was mostly an exchange of personal information. 7 days later, we had a rushed wedding. Another 7 days passed, and Miriam was struck by a speeding car, dying instantly. All the CCTV cameras had malfunctioned. The culprit vanished without a trace. Even the car itself disappeared like a phantom. Only the bloodstains at the scene bore witness to what had transpired. 7 days after that, I received an enormous insurance payout. The beneficiary section listed only my name. Moreover, I discovered, to my horror, that Miriam had taken out various types of insurance policies. It was as if she had anticipated her death within the year. In the span of a single month, I experienced dating, marriage, and widowhood. Miriam Sterling's belongings were few. When she first moved into the new flat, she only brought a 20-inch suitcase. That was all she owned. On the bedside table, a vase held a few drooping sunflowers. Past their prime, the delicate golden petals had all fallen away. The thick photo album sat next to the vase. The cover photo was our recent wedding picture. Miriam, in a pure white gown, held my arm, her smile as radiant as a flower. I casually flipped through a few pages. Suddenly, my gaze froze. The album was filled with photos of Miriam and me together. A younger Miriam and a younger me, one after another. The last one showed us both in school uniforms. I stared at the intimate young couple, completely bewildered. I had no memory of these photos whatsoever. Moreover, I was certain before our match on the dating app, I had never met Miriam. The album in my hands suddenly felt scalding hot. I recalled every moment of our time together. Finally, I realized something was amiss. We'd known each other for less than a month. Yet Miriam knew everything about me, from my relationships to my daily habits. As I sat stunned, something fell from the album, rolling away with a tinkling sound. I looked down and was startled again. Before the wedding, I had ordered a pair of rings. When they arrived, there was a mistake. The velvet box contained only the bride's ring. And now, I stared at the groom's ring. Why was it here? As soon as I slipped on the ring, a blinding white light nearly dazzled me. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself sitting at a barbecue stall. "Cheers, Crispin." The chubby lad across from me raised his beer can drunkenly and clinked it against mine. I stared at his face, tentatively speaking up. "Abner." He looked up at me blearily. "What's up?" I was completely stunned. Abner had been my friend since childhood. He had passed away due to illness a few years ago. Trying to keep my composure, I asked, "Nothing. What time is it now?" Abner's eyes widened, and he chuckled. "Crispin, how many pints have you had? You're completely sloshed." He reached out with a grin to feel my forehead. "Don't you remember? It's New Year's Eve." I had traveled back in time 7 years. In the darkness, a light drizzle began to fall. As I gazed at the endless curtain of rain, something stirred in my memory. Miriam had once told me about a particularly awful New Year's Eve she'd had. Her company had made her work overtime, and she hadn't even had a chance to eat. On her way home that night, it started pouring, and she slipped and twisted her ankle. To make matters worse, The streetlights on her usual route home were broken, and she was followed by a creep. What happened then? Did you manage to shake him off and get home safely? I had asked her at the time. Miriam had lowered her head and smiled faintly. She said, "Thankfully, someone came to my rescue in the end." Boom! The rain was now coming down in torrents. Abner was still swaying drunkenly as he drank. I stared out at the heavy rain beyond the barbecue stall, suddenly feeling very worried. I followed my memory to find the small alley where Miriam Sterling used to live. The street lamp was broken. From the entrance to the end of the alley, it was pitch black. It matched Miriam's description perfectly. My heart sank. 5 minutes later, I saw Miriam Sterling. She was soaked from head to toe, water dripping from the hem of her clothes. This was Miriam Sterling 7 years ago at 22. Fresh out of university, just starting her career. Though dressed in business attire, the youthfulness had not yet faded from her face. She was running in the rain. Suddenly, she slipped and fell clumsily to the ground. Seconds later, a man in black caught up with her from behind. Without a word, he grabbed her wrist, trying to drag her into the dark alley. My heart tightened. Hadn't Miriam said someone would come to save her? Where was this person? My body moved faster than my thoughts. By the time I regained awareness, I had already punched the man in black in the eye. "Who the hell are you?" He spat out a mouthful of bloody saliva, cursing drunkenly. "How dare you ruin my fun?" I grabbed his short, coarse hair and landed another punch on the bridge of his nose. "Watch your bloody mouth." The man in black sobered up a bit. He scrambled to his feet, pointing at me fiercely. "Who the hell are you?" I helped Miriam up, not even looking at him. "Just a concerned passerby." I gently pressed Miriam's swollen ankle. "Where do you live? Can you walk?" She stared at me, her voice hoarse. "Don't you know me?" Logically, at this point in time, I shouldn't know her, so I shook my head. "Do you need me to take you home? My ID number is—" "If you don't trust me, you can call the police." "That won't be necessary." Miriam stood up unsteadily, leaning on my arm for support. She said, "I trust you." Perhaps it was due to getting caught in the rain and being startled. As soon as she got home, Miriam Sterling developed a high fever. Do you want to call your parents or friends to come and take care of you?" I asked. As soon as the words left my mouth, I regretted them, because I suddenly remembered what Miriam had told me before. Her mother had passed away early, her father was an alcoholic and abusive, and her stepmother treated her harshly. She didn't have many friends either. She had always been alone. Miriam indeed refused. "It's all right. No need to trouble anyone." Miriam took some fever medicine and became drowsy. I turned off the lights and prepared to go downstairs. Her lips were pale, drained of color, but she still managed to curve them slightly. "Come to think of it, I should thank you. If it weren't for you, I really wouldn't have known what to do." She blinked her eyes and suddenly reached out her hand to me. "Nice to meet you. I'm Miriam Sterling." I waved my hand. "No need for formalities, Miss Sterling. It was just a small gesture." I had originally intended to leave. When I reached downstairs, I suddenly remembered that Miriam hadn't eaten due to working overtime. It was New Year's Eve after all. The rain had stopped. Water droplets from the eaves dripped down steadily, making the night feel even colder and more desolate. I rang the doorbell again, carrying takeaway porridge and side dishes from the food stall. No one answered. I waited for a moment and pressed it again. This time, the person inside responded quickly. "Coming, coming." Miriam ran to open the door barefoot, looking as if she had just woken up. Through the security screen, she widened her eyes. "Oh," she smiled foolishly. "It's you." Before I could answer, Miriam had already opened the door. "Why did you come back? Did you forget something here?" Her gaze fell on the bag I was carrying, and she froze. I opened the takeaway containers one by one and skillfully handed her a pair of cutlery. "I bought too much. Remembered you hadn't eaten either, so I thought we might as well eat together." A dating show was playing on the television. Noisy and boring. Miriam held her porridge bowl and clinked it against my beer can. Mr. Linton. She curved her eyes. Happy New Year. I clinked her bowl and smiled too. Happy New Year, Miss Sterling. That day, Miriam and I chatted about everything under the sun until very late. Although Miriam was ill, she was extremely excited. It wasn't until the clock in the living room pointed to 3 o'clock, after Miriam had yawned for the umpteenth time, that she finally tilted her head and fell asleep. I carried her back to the bedroom and tucked her in. But I lay on her sofa, unable to sleep. After much thought, I finally realized something was amiss. Miriam seemed to have an unusual trust in me, a stranger who had suddenly appeared. I thought of Miriam's photo album. I really couldn't understand where those photos together came from. Or perhaps, we had known each other before, and I just couldn't remember? When I woke up the next day, Miriam had already gone to work overtime at the company. She had only gone to sleep at 3 in the morning. I thought to myself, what incredible dedication. There was a note left on the coffee table. Breakfast in the pot. As I brushed my teeth with a disposable toothbrush, I felt a bit sentimental. We had only just met, yet our life together felt like that of an old married couple. Miriam, being a new employee, was often exploited by her superiors. Her work hours kept getting extended, and she wouldn't get home until nearly 9 o'clock. I was worried that the man in black would harass Miriam again. So before she finished work, I gave him a thrashing. Don't let me see you again, or I'll beat you every time I do, I threatened, landing another blow on his head. You hear me? After dealing with the man in black, I waited and waited, but Miriam didn't finish work. I glanced at her work ID that she had forgotten on the coffee table and took a taxi to her company building. As soon as I got out of the car, I saw a man grabbing Miriam's sleeve and refusing to let go. Miriam was struggling to push him away, her cheeks flushed red. Hey, yes you. What do you think you're doing? I frowned, shielding Miriam behind me. She said don't touch her. Are you deaf? The man laughed. Come on, mate. You know how it is. She's just playing hard to get. Miriam, gathering her courage, peeked out from behind me. You're mental. I told you I have a boyfriend. The man sneered. Pull the other one. You said you had a boyfriend on your first day at work. Where is he then? Haven't seen hide nor hair of him. Miriam took a deep breath. Then, she firmly patted my shoulder. If you're not using your eyes, you might want to donate them to someone who needs them, she said. My boyfriend is right in front of you. Can't you see? As soon as Abner left, Miriam Sterling visibly relaxed. I'm so sorry. Thank you for helping me out of that awkward situation. She winked at me. How about I cook you something delicious to make it up to you? As a thank you, what do you say? I had never mentioned it, but Miriam seemed to know my tastes perfectly. She even knew about my little quirk of not liking coriander. I contentedly freeloaded meals at her place for nearly 2 weeks. During our free time, we watched TV series together, went for walks, and chatted about everything under the sun. Under the guise of fooling her colleagues, Miriam took several photos with me. Days passed by peacefully like a gentle stream, until one day, while washing my coat, Miriam found the wedding ring in the pocket. Crispin, she said, holding up the ring with an excited look. So you're already married, then? I forgot to ask. How old are you? Having traveled back 7 years, the face in the mirror looked much younger. But faced with Miriam's expectant gaze, I was inexplicably compelled to tell the truth. I'm 29, I said. My wife passed away in a car accident. She froze for a moment, then suddenly lowered her head. Oh, I'm so sorry, she mumbled. Miriam fell into a long silence. Just before bedtime, she suddenly asked me, Do you miss your wife very much? I gazed at Miriam for a long while. After a moment, I took a soft breath. Of course, I said. I deeply regretted not having met her earlier. Miriam lowered her head. I feel very uneasy, she said. I can't shake the feeling that when I wake up tomorrow you'll be gone. I chuckled. How could that be? Didn't we agree to go fishing tomorrow? She suddenly buried her face in her duvet, her voice muffled. You should go now. I need to sleep. Good night, Crispin. I turned off the light for her and softly replied, "Good night." I woke up and found myself in another time slip. Staring at the school blazer I was wearing, I zoned out for a moment. "Crispin, you're awake? Those gits from Class 2B just came to provoke us again. They said to meet at the Oak Grove after school." I gazed at the time displayed on the classroom's digital board, lost in thought. This was my 15th year in year 10. I realized I must have entered a parallel timeline, traveling back in time 7 years at a time. Wait, I felt my pocket. The ring. Where had that ring gone? I furrowed my brow, thinking hard for a while. Probably still left by the washing machine at Miriam's house. My desk mate nudged me with his pen. "Crispin, say something. Are we going or not?" I grabbed my backpack and dashed out. Miriam Sterling and I had always attended the same school but different classes. I had a question that had puzzled me for a long time, and I wanted to ask her. After waiting outside room 10 for ages, I finally caught sight of 15-year-old Miriam. Her hair was in a high ponytail, her features still youthful. "Miriam Sterling." I called out suddenly, "Long time no see?" Miriam turned around bewildered, but her eyes lit up when she saw me. "Oh, it's you," she said with a soft smile. "Long time no see, Crispin Linton." Miriam did know me after all. No wonder 22-year-old Miriam had been so unguarded with me. No wonder 29-year-old Miriam had agreed to a whirlwind marriage with me after knowing me for just a few days. It turned out she had known me all along. My heart tightened. Since 15-year-old Miriam knew me too, this reverse time travel hadn't stopped yet. At this rate, I would travel back another 7 years and meet 8-year-old Miriam. I kept encountering younger versions of her. While she had known what I was like all along, my heart gradually sank. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously. All events happen at the same time. The photos 22-year-old Miriam took when she asked me to be her fake boyfriend were the very ones 29-year-old me would see later. I was personally creating my past with Miriam. In some mysterious way, everything had already been predetermined. After realizing this, I came down with a high fever. It was too absurd. However, after just a few days in bed, Mr. Corbett heard I'd recovered and dragged me back to class. I lamented, "Sir, I'm a time traveler. I got 3A*S in my A-levels. I don't need to attend class." He smirked. "What a coincidence. I just love disciplining class-skipping time travelers." He grabbed me by the collar and lifted me up. "Even if you got 4A*S, you're not skipping class." I was speechless. As soon as I sat down, my desk mate leaned over with a sly grin. "Crispin, did you know? That girl from room 10 comes looking for you every day." I glanced at him sideways. "What did she say?" My desk mate grinned. "Nothing. When she saw you weren't here, she just turned and left." When Miriam Sterling appeared once again outside the window, peering in, I gently tapped her shoulder from behind. "I'm busy. Don't bother me," she grumbled, shifting to the side, her face nearly pressed against the glass. I chuckled softly. "What's the matter? Tell me. Perhaps I can help." Visibly, Miriam's body stiffened. The next moment, she turned to look at me, her expression a mix of embarrassment and annoyance. "Crispin Linton, you scared me to death." She bit her lip, then asked in a low voice, "I heard you were ill. How are you feeling now? Any better?" I nodded. "That's good. You should rest well," Miriam said with relief. She shoved a paper bag into my arms and turned to run. I looked down and opened it, chuckling in surprise. Inside were homemade shortbread, fudge, and biscuits. For some reason, she had also tucked in a few boxes of cold medicine. Suddenly, I found this version of Miriam very lively. My wife is truly adorable, I thought. This realization startled even me. After our marriage, Miriam had always been so quiet. Her eyes, gentle yet sad, seemed to hide a world of thoughts. I had always believed that words like lively or adorable could never describe her. Yet, seeing her younger self now, I remembered something Miriam had once told me. Her teenage years were actually very quiet, and she had even experienced bullying at school. She hadn't made many friends and always envied others. Now that I had accidentally traveled back in time, I wondered, could I help her make up for those lost experiences? Miriam Sterling hadn't told me much about the bullying she was experiencing at school. To find out what was really going on, I followed her secretly on her way home. That day, Miriam was cornered by a group of mean girls. Smoking cigarettes, they surrounded Miriam with smirks on their faces, demanding protection money. Miriam's face turned pale, but she still firmly refused. The leader of the group glared at her and reached out to grab Miriam's hair. I couldn't stand by and watch. I caught the girl's hand midair. "Piss off," I growled. The girl, embarrassed and angry, snapped back, "Who the hell are you? I'll get my brother to sort you out." I let out a cold laugh and dropped Abner's name. Ever heard of Big Abner from Oxford? Abner had no interest in studying during his school days, only caring about fighting, racing cars, and chasing girls. I hadn't expected his reputation to be so useful. The leader's expression changed twice before she suddenly stuffed a cigarette into my hand. "Bruv," she said with a fake smile, bowing and scraping. "Let me be your little sis, yeah? You can look out for me." I automatically took the cigarette, my eye twitching slightly. The next moment, I saw Miriam turn away without expression and start walking off. "Hey, Miriam." I warned the girls off and ran after her. "What's wrong?" I asked cautiously, not understanding why she was suddenly angry. Miriam stared at the ground, not saying a word. I racked my brains for a while before it suddenly dawned on me. Is it because I took her cigarette? "Crispin." Miriam looked up at me, her eyes red. "If you're going to make her your little sister, then give me back all my shortbread and fudge." She stared at the cigarette in my hand, her voice trembling with hurt. "I don't want to fancy you anymore." So she was jealous. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I threw the cigarette into a bin right in front of her. "I'm sorry," I said. Miriam didn't seem upset when she found out I had been following her. After our homework club, she decided to walk home with me. Under the dim streetlights, we strolled side by side through the alleyway, crunching fallen leaves beneath our feet. It was already late autumn. Many food stalls selling jacket potatoes had appeared along the street. Miriam and I bought one at the entrance of the alley and shared it as we walked. By the time we exited the alley, we had finished eating. We said goodbye at the next intersection, with her heading east and me west. The next morning, we silently met at the same spot to walk to school together. Miriam's life now included me as a friend. Days passed by, one after another. One day, just as I put down my bag, my desk mate leaned in with a mischievous look. "Crispin, mate, are you and Miriam together now?" I paused while searching for my homework. After careful consideration, I shook my head. Not yet. I hadn't confessed my feelings yet. My desk mate gave me a knowing look, winking exaggeratedly. "You can fool your mates, but don't fool yourself." "But Crispin, you'd better be careful," he warned. I looked up, puzzled, as he glanced around before whispering, "You know the school's arts festival next month? There's a bloke from year 10 who's going to sing Someone Like You with Miriam." "How do you know that?" "Look." My desk mate pointed towards the teacher's desk. "The sign-up sheet is right there." I picked up the sheet, and the first line was written in neat handwriting. "Someone Like You, Abner Quillen and Miriam Sterling, year 10. My classmate glanced at me cautiously. "Hey, what's the matter?" I remained silent, feeling an inexplicable anger brewing inside me. Who was that male flirt hanging around Miriam? I couldn't wait until the end of school. As soon as the bell rang, I rushed to the door of room 10. Miriam was leaning forward slightly, explaining a problem to her desk mate. That boy was sitting far too close to her. His eyes weren't on the draft paper. They were practically glued to Miriam's face. I caught the male flirt red-handed. Suppressing my anger, I walked to his desk just in time to hear him say, "Miriam, could you explain it to me one more time?" I didn't quite get it. Miriam looked puzzled. "You still don't understand? This is the third time." That detestable flirt suddenly lay on the desk, staring at Miriam without blinking. "Miriam, my dear desk mate, you're the best. You know, I've always been a bit slow, Everyone looks down on me. Unable to contain myself any longer, I grabbed him by the collar and lifted him up. The male flirt panicked. You! What are you doing? I let out a cold laugh. Abner, right? You are quite slow indeed. Miriam couldn't help but burst into laughter. Abner's face turned a mixture of blue and red with shame and anger. Hey! Who are you? What's it to you? Why are you butting in? Is Miriam your girlfriend? My anger flared. She's my wife. For heaven's sake. I suppressed my rage and mimicked his tone. Oh yes, what's it to me? Then I turned to Miriam, speaking in a sickeningly sweet voice. Miriam, darling, I'm talking to your desk mate like this. He won't get angry, will he? I deliberately emphasized the words, desk mate. Miriam could barely contain her laughter as she waved her hands at me. No, he won't get angry. Ha 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 ha. She laughed so hard she bent over, making the desk shake. You! Abner glared at me and ran away, gritting his teeth. I tapped on Miriam's desk. Startled, Miriam snapped. What? Are you going to sing someone like you with this dimwit? Miriam looked at me blankly. No? Who said that? I let out a low oh. Never mind. I came to ask you something. Miriam, would you like to sing with me at the talent show? Miriam Sterling browsed through the song list, finally settling on Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Frowning, she crossed out her name next to Abner's, muttering to herself, let him sing it alone. Then she neatly wrote down, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Miriam Sterling, Crispin Linton. I glanced at it, feeling smug inside but letting my mouth run ahead of me. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? Oh, childhood friends, are we? She looked up, puzzled. Aren't we? My heart sank, and I quickly explained, I was just joking. These days, whenever Miriam brought up things from the past, I'd laugh it off, afraid she'd catch on. Over time, not getting any response, she gradually stopped mentioning it. In truth, I wanted to know about those times more than anyone. Miriam's past that had already happened was my future yet to come. And the past I knew well, Miriam knew nothing about. I hid my emotions and changed the subject. Shall I play guitar to accompany you? Miriam's attention was indeed diverted, her eyes sparkling. Yes, yes. In the days that followed, Miriam and I often skipped homework club to meet in the music room. Miriam loved this song. She sang over and over. From then on, someone lived in my heart. We were once so small. Back then, we tried to act out love scenes. You with missing teeth, your pronunciation wasn't quite right. As I strummed the guitar strings, I suddenly felt a pang in my heart. Miriam, do you know? We still missed each other in the end. Crispin, Crispin, did your string just snap? Miriam had leaned in close without me noticing, reaching out to touch the suddenly broken string. I looked at her eyelashes, so close, and my heart skipped a beat. Crispin. She turned her head, not getting an answer, looking confused. Her small, upturned nose barely grazed my lips. I'm sorry. What's wrong, Crispin? Miriam jumped, startled, staring at me like a deer in headlights. I suppressed the emotions rising within me and shook my head. I was just lost in thought for a moment, sorry. On the day of the arts festival, the weather forecast predicted snow for the evening. This would be York's first snowfall of the year. As night fell, there was still an hour before the performance. In the music room, I was tuning my instrument. Miriam Sterling sat beside me, her hands tucked into her pockets, watching. Crispin, she whispered, leaning in conspiratorially. Have you heard about a secret? What? I played along, lowering my voice. I don't know, please tell me. Miriam whispered quickly in my ear. Couples who confess their love on the first snow day will grow old together. She finished, blinking expectantly, waiting for my reaction. My heart felt like it was being pricked by tiny needles, a dull ache spreading through my chest. I bit the inside of my cheek and smiled. I'll tell you a secret too. Want to hear it? Miriam's interest was immediately piqued. What is it? I said softly. I'm from your future. Miriam pondered this for a moment, then suddenly raised her index finger with a serious expression. "One question." I stifled a laugh. "Go ahead," she asked in a hushed tone. "In the future, are we married?" My breath caught for an instant. Meeting Miriam's sparkling gaze, I feigned nonchalance and replied, "Of course." Miriam suddenly covered her face, laughing. "When I go on stage to sing tonight, I have something important to tell you. You need to be prepared. No running away." I looked at her smiling eyes, feeling a softness in my heart. "All right." Miriam went off alone to get her makeup done. As the door to the music room closed, I suddenly felt a sharp pain in my chest. The guitar in my hands abruptly fell to the floor. Shocked, I looked down. My hands were gradually becoming transparent, starting from the fingertips. I was disappearing. When Miriam came bouncing back to find me, there was only a guitar lying on the floor of the music room. She looked around bewildered. "Crispin!" No one answered. Miriam stood stunned for a moment, then suddenly stumbled out. "Ms. Corbett, have you seen Crispin?" "Excuse me, have you seen?" Even as Miriam stood alone on stage, her eyes were still searching for me. As the original background music started, fine snowflakes began to fall from the sky. When she sang the line, "I'm looking for that person from the story. You're the part that can't be missing," Miriam suddenly looked up, choking for a moment. Glistening drops fell from her cheeks. It was hard to tell if they were snowflakes or tears. During the date, Miriam's words echoed in my ears once again, like a whisper of fate. "I once had someone I really liked. We prepared a performance together for the arts festival. I was planning to confess to him after I finished singing. At the time, my gossip-loving soul was burning with curiosity, and I asked her, 'And then what happened?'" Miriam lowered her eyes and smiled softly. "Then I waited for him all night, but he never came." Floating in midair, I reached out in a daze, wanting to wipe away the tears on her cheeks. But the snowflakes passed through my palm, falling gently. The first snow had arrived. Snow-covered head, yet not white-haired. I finally understood the small text Miriam had written on the back of our photo later. "It's such a pity, Crispin. We're going to miss each other again. A twist of fate. Lovers missing each other. What a pity, Miriam." A flash of white light. Another 7 years had passed. I stood on the street, staring at my short arms and legs in bewilderment. "Mister, watch out." Suddenly, a small shadow lunged towards me. I was knocked down, rolling on the ground twice. The next moment, a speeding car whooshed past, barely grazing my back. Bang! The car crashed into a tree with a tremendous noise. The sound of shattering glass was crisp and piercing. The child in my arms flinched, then shuddered again. I got a clear look at that face and gasped in shock. "Miriam!" 8-year-old Miriam Sterling looked up in confusion, her hair sticking up messily. "Mister, do you know me?" A small yellow dog ran over from across the street, nuzzling her hand affectionately. Miriam picked up the puppy, eyeing me warily. "Mister, I've been calling you for ages from over there, but you couldn't hear me. You need to be careful when crossing the road. How could you just stand in the middle of the street daydreaming? You were nearly hit." I hung my head, meekly accepting her scolding. "Oh no!" Miriam suddenly remembered something and stumbled towards the wrecked car. "Mister, quick! Call the police." The car was severely deformed from the impact, the driver dead on the spot. Shattered glass and twisted metal littered the ground. I stared at the large crimson stain on the car's bonnet, momentarily dazed. I wasn't hurt, and neither was Miriam. So where did all that blood come from? Before I could ponder further, the police had already arrived at the scene and cordoned off the area. "You naughty girl! I told you not to wander off." A woman suddenly appeared from the crowd, grabbing Miriam Sterling's ear and giving it a sharp twist. Miriam burst into tears. Auntie, I'm sorry." The little golden retriever fell to the ground, biting at my trousers and trying to pull me towards Miriam. "Crying? You have the nerve to cry?" the woman scolded. "Always running off. One day you'll end up dead in a ditch and no one will know." I stepped in front of Miriam, attempting to reason with the woman. But her eyes darted to the dog, and she redirected her anger. "Run, run, run. Always running about," she yelled. "This girl's gone completely wild." Startled, the golden retriever tucked its tail between its legs and ran off. "Goldie! Goldie!" Miriam cried out, struggling to break free. The woman let out a derisive snort, gripping Miriam's arm tightly. "Apologies for the scene, neighbors," she said. "I'll take this girl home and teach her a proper lesson." Miriam's tear-filled eyes met mine. Her lashes fluttered, and tears streamed down her cheeks. My heart clenched. I nodded at her and stood up to chase after Goldie. I knew the golden retriever was the last gift Miriam's mother had left her. I was carrying Goldie back when I saw Miriam Sterling standing by the door, looking downcast. People were coming and going in the alley, and everyone passing by seemed to be whispering and pointing at her. Miriam had her hands behind her back, her head bowed even lower. I could see the glistening tears hanging from her chin. "Miriam," I called out softly, but she remained motionless. I scratched Goldie's chin, and he let out a small whimper. Miriam's head shot up. "Goldie!" Goldie stretched his hind legs and leapt into Miriam's arms. She stroked his head as tears began to fall like pearls from a broken string. "Oh, Goldie, I thought I'd never see you again." I crouched beside her and handed her a tissue. Miriam cried for a long time that day. Eventually, I felt a weight on my shoulder and realized Miriam had fallen asleep. I tucked her in with a blanket and was about to leave when I heard her whisper, "Thank you, Crispin." In the days that followed, whenever I had a spare moment, I would rush out to find Miriam Sterling. When Miriam was secretly picking oranges from the bingo hall's entrance, Abner and I kept watch for her. The three of us, along with the dog, were chased through several alleys by the owner wielding a broom. This city was our playground. We searched every nook and cranny. Together, we watched many sunsets. We played all day long. Gradually, smiles appeared more frequently on Miriam's face. I thought our days would continue like this. All past troubles seemed insignificant. In this time and space, I would truly become her childhood friend, growing up alongside her. We would naturally come to know, cherish, and love each other. Alas, fate had other plans. That day, a group of police officers knocked on the door of Miriam's home. However, they were driven away by Miriam's stepmother. When I arrived, I saw her berating them again, hands on her hips. "Are you mad? Wishing our Miriam dead? She's alive and well. You're the one who's dead." The police had found the victim of that car accident. DNA results from the blood on the car's bonnet indicated it was Miriam Sterling. Yet Miriam was unharmed, without even a scratch. The police saw Miriam, alive and well, with their own eyes. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Impossible. With that amount of blood loss at the scene, it should have been fatal. How could this be? In a flash, I recalled another car accident. The one that took away 29-year-old Miriam Sterling. That car that appeared and vanished like a ghost. My breath caught in my throat. It was as if I'd been struck by lightning. The deceased might truly be Miriam. "Correct." A faint voice suddenly came from behind. I turned around. A bald vicar clasped his hands together and uttered, "Amen." The 29-year-old Miriam Sterling died under the car that she pushed you away from when she was 8. With this, the cycle of karma is complete. He said time is not a line, but a circle. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously. All events are interconnected causes and effects. A bright white light surrounded him. "Where am I going?" When Miriam was 1 year old, the vicar shook his head. "The karmic cycle has closed. You should return." I asked in disbelief, "Return where?" "To when you're 29. I suddenly became agitated. "Go back? How can you ask me to go back? After experiencing all of this, how could I endure a long life without her again? Missing each other, forgetting each other. I don't want to. I don't want to live that life again." The little dog whimpered, biting my trouser leg, trying to pull me back from the white light. I stared at the vicar and said hoarsely, "I want to see Miriam Sterling one more time. You said past, present, and future exist simultaneously, and where I want to go is just a segment of spacetime. You must have a way. Please. The vicar lowered his brows and uttered amen, then said, The karmic cycle closes here. What you speak of is beyond this circled. Outside of karma, diverging branches will be eliminated. My child, to go there is to die. That stepmother was beating and scolding Miriam again. Many adults gathered around. Some tried to mediate, others just watched the commotion. In the crowd, I could barely see the small figure of Miriam anymore. I said, It doesn't matter. I really want to see Miriam. I want to see Miriam purely happy, unburdened by me. The vicar seemed to sigh. Only one day, I said softly. As long as I can see her one more time. I, at 8 years old, continued to travel forward in time. The wind whistled past my ears, coming to a halt at the end of a white light. This was the year Miriam Sterling turned 1. Mrs. Sterling pushed the pram, leisurely stepping out of the house. A small yellow dog wagged its tail, tied to the side of the pram. At this moment, Miriam Sterling was the happiest little darling in the world. I followed them for the entire day. Mrs. Sterling took Miriam and the yellow dog to the supermarket. At dusk, they went out to the park. She spread a picnic blanket on the grass in the park and lifted Miriam out. I sat on a bench not far away, watching intently. I didn't even want to blink. 1-year-old Miriam held a long-eared rabbit in her arms. Surprisingly, she toddled over to me. Brother, she said, tilting her head to look at me. Her voice was soft and babyish, babbling. Brother, crying. Tears flowed uncontrollably. Miriam. My voice was probably shaking. I reached out, wanting to hug her, but was stopped by Mrs. Sterling, who had rushed over. Mrs. Sterling gave me a wary look and picked up Miriam. Miri, let's go home with Mummy. Miriam obediently raised her arms and wrapped them around her mother's neck. She happily repeated, Home, home. The sunset stretched their shadows long. In this silent twilight, Miriam suddenly turned her head and waved her chubby little hand at me. Brother, she giggled. Brother, see you tomorrow. I forced a smile and grinned back at her. See you tomorrow, Miriam. See you tomorrow.